All right, guys, so I want to take this moment to explain how I met Ray. And so we actually got introduced by Peter Raganetti, who's going to join us, I believe, for class 4 and talk about crowdsourcing, which is actually a class that he teaches here at Pratt. And so I know James just touched on how that's a big desire for you guys to fundraise and strategies for that. And so Peter connected us, and Ray walked me through it, and there's an image I think you're going to show, right? Which actually was something that I saw in the subway a couple of years ago that was so moving to me. It actually inspired me, this is a true story, to give away some old coats that I had in my closet. You know, because I saw that, I had an emotional response to it, and I'm like, there's people that could use this way more than I need it. And it was kind of amazing to then meet the person who actually created that and learn what he had to do, which I hope you can talk about a little bit, because I love hearing it. And the thing about Ray is not only is this guy talented, but he comes from such a place of integrity. And so I'm just really pleased to have him here and share his process and how he works with you guys. So,
thanks.
Yeah.
I've never heard myself spoken of like that, so thanks. I'm glad it's on tape. I'm going to show it to my wife, see? So yes, I do have the power of having you donate your old coats to places, I mean, if that's a badge, but I'll show you how I got there. So like you guys, I have an MVP, and I'd like this to be as interactive as possible, so if I'm not making sense, just stop me right there. And if you have any questions, please do. And I want to take you through a process that I've recently developed to help guys like you brand yourselves. Like I just heard you say something about how you present your product. Were it an elevator pitch, or you were selling it to someone and you say it real quick. This process is helpful towards that. It's also helpful towards getting you to differentiate. And you know how very quickly these days everything's getting commoditized. You produce something and quickly someone's going to do the same thing and put it out there. So the quicker you have an authentic story and a differentiating story, the better. So I've been in this business a while, and I started in advertising and creative as an art director. And I found myself doing work for people, and there was an odd relationship between my side of the business and the other side of the business. There were two sides. There was the client side and the agency side. And I thought there was something really, all through my career, I thought there was something really wrong about that, because we all have one goal, which is to help this company move forward positively, to sell, make money, as well as do good. You're serving a purpose. Each of your products serves a purpose to help humans do something better, whatever it is. Someone has a shin guard, someone has with a light on it. I've been through your list, and I'd like to talk about that if we have the time. So my company is called Masa and Baz. My grandfather's nickname and my business partner's grandfather's nickname, they both happen to be military guys on opposing sides. That's just a coincidence, but I'll move away from that. I grew up in India with the name Mendez. Talking of branding, there's a little confusion there, isn't there? I mean, if you think of Indianness or you think of Mendez, you wouldn't put them together necessarily, unless some of you know this. But the Portuguese were there around 400 years ago, 450 years ago, and converted my ancestors to Catholicism, and therefore Mendez. So this is more true. This is what I used to see a lot growing up, the backs of people in church, and I learned essentially about communication and truth finding from the Jesuits, where I understood, without articulating it at the time, but I understood the meaning of branding, which, you know, one can look at these days and go, it's superficial, it's my brand from the outside, but I don't look at it like that. I look at brand a little bit deeper, that a brand is made up not just of what you look like, your logo and your name, but it's how you behave, how you think, and the words you use, and the whole image, it's your whole being. So with that in mind, I left advertising recently and started Masa and Baz to be able to help CEOs and founders develop their own brands and do it really quickly. I'll take you through the process soon. So, in my mind, brands are thoughts, words, and deeds, plus stuff. Stuff is your stuff, whatever you're selling. It might be a service, it might be a product, but it's how you think, how the brand thinks, how the brand speaks, and how the brand behaves is critical to how you're going to connect with your customer. And particularly these days, it's relevant because, let's say 30 years ago, a company could say something and do something very different. Like they could produce something that people loved and claim that it was good for the environment. Meanwhile, they could be, leaching vast amounts of pollutants into the environment, and no one found out. But these days, within 5 minutes, you pull out your phone and you're like, done. That's the end of your relationship with that brand. So you've got to behave differently. So what's happening is that companies that have been around like 150 years, well-meaning companies, they're great companies. American Express, great company. They're all looking for ways to change, to update their being. Well-meaning, good companies really helping people. So there are companies on one side that are looking to make dramatic changes for better, and there are companies like you guys on the other side with major upside. You're ready to come out there and compete with these companies, and both of you need brands to compete, to differentiate, to have a long-term goal about where you're heading, and also an ability to start with something really small the first day so you sell your product. So am I tracking so far? Do you guys have any questions, or am I making sense? Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself because I do. You can tell me. So years ago, I worked at a company called Shire Day, and I met a guy, a friend who was a copywriter. He'd walk in at around 11:30 and be like, that guy's got a good life. He'd walk in at 11:30, all disheveled, do something and leave. And I was curious, like, why did they pay this guy? So then I asked him what he was doing. He was drawing these circles and diagrams. He had a bag, and I'm like, what is this? And he told me, he liked that I was curious, and he looked at me and he goes, what's your idea of a brand? It's a while ago, 95 or something. And before I could answer him, he said, it's not a trick question. He goes, a brand is a space in your mind. It's a lifestyle. And we create products that are souvenirs of the lifestyle. And I was like, oh, I never thought of that, because it was a new way of thinking for me. And I said, what are you doing? And he was designing these bags. I said, why are you designing a bag? His wife was Kate Spade, and he and she made Kate Spade together. And I was there looking at them with this theory of branding, and it became Kate Spade. So I'm like, wow, this is a very powerful business I'm in. And I was ready to leave at the time, because I just felt like I was just selling stuff, not feeling it. But I really saw the power of this and thought I could help companies do good and sell at the same time. So I stayed in it. And now he apologizes to me. He goes, I'm so sorry I kept you in the business. And he's kidding, but he did. So from India, I moved to New York to be in advertising. What they told me was the mecca of advertising. And yes, it was completely overpowering. Everyone was overstimulated. Everything was happening at the same time. And I enjoyed it. I was like, I truly wanted to be here, and I was here and having a great time. And I got an assignment referring to Carl's, what Carl just referred to get New Yorkers to donate coats. And as you guys know, you're overstimulated. So I'm trying to emphasize right now the importance of knowing your audience. So whatever your products are, you've got to be able to put yourselves into the minds of your audiences. Not the demographics as much, which are important, how old they are and what they do physically, but what are they thinking? What do they want? What are their aspirations? Your first thing, most important thing, any of you need to do moving forward, if you haven't, and even if you have, is to understand your audience and what they're looking for, not just now, but what they're looking for in the future, the bigger picture. So that's why I want to go through that a little bit now. So I got this post came to me, and she said, the New York Cares is trying to do a coat drive, and they've done it for like 15 years. And creatives like me, egotistical, she put it, want to win awards to do public service advertising. So they do these frightening looking things, a body frozen and someone dead and all this horrific stuff. And she goes, it doesn't work. So I said, why not? She said, because it's a turn off. New Yorkers are wandering around with enough stimulation, and they see something frightening like this, they just look away. They don't want to deal with it. And secondly, even if you do look and you feel something, you don't know what to do. It's just too much. It's too much of a push. So she said, what you got to do is just make them feel without noise, keep it quiet, and give them a little thing to do. So with that, I did this image. Oops, this was my audience definition. overstimulated New Yorkers, but helpful. So let me discuss the statement a little. When I just want to go back to what I said about you guys knowing your audience. Come up with some kind of a statement about your audience that just rings true. You do not want to go for everyone. I'll take the shin guard with lights on it. Whose is that? So you're not going to go for someone like me who doesn't run. Do you know what I mean? So don't waste your energy and money on everyone. Find the guy or the person, the woman, who just says, I need that thing, and get into her mindset and understand why she uses it, not who she is from a demographic standpoint, like age and stuff like that, but why she uses it, and get that mindset and create a statement like this, because this is key. We know this about New Yorkers, but I'm never going to go to the guy who says, I don't give a damn. I want to go to the people who want to help. You see, so you narrow down your audience and you know how to talk to them. So right away you get one big insight. So look for that insight. One or two words that says, this differentiates my audience from another audience, from everyone. And try and focus as much as you can, because you might think I'm narrowing it down to too few people. You're not. There are plenty of people out there. So with that, I came up with this image. I don't know if you guys take the subway. It's been around a while, but I think they stopped using it recently, but it's on ATMs and stuff like that. And if you want me to, I'll go as fast as I can. I put a lot of energy into this. This is when I was an art director by trade. I believed I was, and that was it. Meaning, I saw myself in this continuum of advertising, branding, marketing, business as being just an art director. So I put all my energies into it. And it shows, because the emotion comes back out. I mean, there were details here that just were like painful to do, because I had to push people to great limits to get the effect I wanted. To be able to, for this image to be able to manipulate people took a lot of me pushing it to manipulate that. For instance, the cheeks, I had to go and do them myself because I just didn't feel like it was communicating right. There was a thumb sticking up there. It was like this. I had to go and cut it off. It was a reshoot, sadly, because this is, you know, an Apple box, when you're shooting, there are these boxes they use. It had one Apple box and she was squished, and I couldn't figure it out. I had to do a reshoot and go back. Then I left, I took a few days off, and I came back, and I found that it was, they'd let it go, the image go, and it was all very dark. So to pull it back and to create a lot of political ruckus, because I almost got someone canned for letting it go. My point being, it takes a lot of hard work and energy and pushing buttons and hurtful behavior and stuff. So I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It was just too much for me. I can do it. I could be good at it, but I need to have a different approach. Now, this is a long time ago, but this is the first step in why I started this business. And there have been big steps in between why I'm doing this now, because I don't want to do it myself. I want to teach founders and CEOs to do it themselves and then walk away, because I want to take away the mystification of creativity. I don't think there is any in business. Creativity as an art, that's magic. But in business, we're doing things for a reason, and there's a process. There's a clear, distinct process that once you know it, you're good, and then you can get things done better. So hopefully I'll help you with it, show you the theory, and then you can ask questions. So I'm skipping many years. I just want to show you two New York things. So my most recent client, as of a month ago, like I've got this new company for a month. I had a company called The Concept Farm. I was a partner there of an agency. This was one of my clients. Interesting client, because I had a relationship, I still somewhat do, with the owner of the building. I mean, very few people know that there's one owner of the building, although they went public recently. So it's a public company. He still owns 60% of this REIT, a real estate investment trust. And it's not just this building. There are many buildings they own, this company, this family. Nice, interesting, smart, brilliant man. I learned a lot from him. But essentially the problem he, through his people, his operations, handed my company was to sell tickets to the observatory, which is an incredible business. It sounds like a small thing. It's a major business. I can't officially give you the numbers, but it's a huge, fantastic business. So my company approached it, how do we sell more tickets? And that didn't make any sense, because as you know, there are lines around there. But then we realized it's selling in periods, what they call shoulder periods, nighttime, winter, when people don't want to go there. And then as I'm looking at that going, but there's a conflict between this observatory and the tenants. Oops. I didn't know it was a touchscreen. That doesn't work anymore? It will. They're doing it. Yeah, so you see, the tenants don't want these lines, and the tourists are in the way of the tenants. So I'm like, wait a sec, this is a bigger problem than just selling tickets. It's an experience. This whole building's got to be unified. So it took a lot of work to figure out that it's not just the observatory that was my business. I was being paid to sell more tickets to the observatory, the thing, selling the thing itself, but I had to look at this and go, how are people experiencing this brand? How will they experience this brand? It's going to last another 100 years, we hope. It's been around a long time. It's going to outlast us. My role is not just to be selling tickets, man. I'm like, I can sell tickets, but I got to understand this brand. I'm responsible for it. Here I am, this kid from India. I've got to help this thing because, you know, it pulled me in. So I worked very hard to come up with unearth this to be the heart of New York City. And it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but you can say anything about this building. But I wanted to say this building should symbolize the heart of the city. And what does it mean to be the heart of the city? So the way I framed it, and we framed it for each other, the owner and I, was to take this from being just an observatory to be the heart of New York City. And what does it mean? So that's what the brand became. It was not just an observatory, not just a thing, but it's an experience. It's the heart of New York City. So how do we behave now? What words do we use? What design do we apply? What UX do we apply? How do we behave? How do our people speak when they greet people? So with these three words, you get a whole way of behaving that comes out of this. This is the brand, essentially. It becomes the heart of New York City, and you define how would the heart of New York City be different from the heart of Cincinnati? What's New Yorkness, and what's the heart of New York? So it creates a lot of guidance. So the building can make decisions moving forward based on these few words, as opposed to just, we're selling more tickets. See, you grasping the difference? So that's what I consider branding. Again, if it's not making sense, maybe it will as we keep going. But it's building a bigger story. It's not just a product. It's an experience. I'll give you another analogy. I didn't think I'd do it, but imagine two pencils, simple pencils, and I want to sell them to you. I can say this is a yellow pencil, or I can say this is a yellow pencil that was used by, not this pencil itself, but this brand, this company. Hemingway used these pencils to write all the books we know. Automatically, you'd want this one more, whether we like it or not. So that's the difference between a brand and a product. Just a little bit of a story that says you have a connection, an emotional connection. So observatory, there's no emotion there. It's a view. It's just a view. Heart of New York City, it's like, what does that mean, you know? So that's the essential difference. It's okay, I don't have internet, but from this, and we designed everything, like tickets and website, and everything you can imagine, the bits and pieces that make up the brand, touch points you could call them, you know? When you walk into the building, the signage, the videos, the way for your directions, and the things they have when you pay, the little signage there. So we designed as much as we could. And one major accomplishment I felt was the heart of New York City, hypothetically, is also the center of the city. So Midtown's not defined very well. I bet if I ask each of you to define Midtown, you're going to have different definitions. It's okay. Oh, maybe I do have it. Oh, I do have it. There you go. So we designed this, so the building's smack in the middle. So hopefully, maybe 50 years from now, Midtown will be defined by this square. So it's the heart of New York City. You know, the building is in the heart of Midtown, which is in the middle of the city. So that's, from these three words, heart of New York City, you see how much comes out. You can design this. And then they have this relationship with these places. So it becomes a business idea as well. It's not just this magical heart of New York City that's all emotional. You can start building business. You can build products out of an idea like that. So all these people want to be part of the heart of New York City, the center. So they develop relationships where you now have a walk. They can go there and you can go and you get a coupon. You get some deals, you know. So branding leads to new products too. One of the things that came out of this was we developed a product, the sunrise product. So you pay $100 and you go up every morning for a sunrise experience. And that's came out of this kind of an idea, this kind of thinking. I don't have internet, so I won't show you. But every Valentine's Day it pulses red. That came from here too. So you see how it really, three words affect everything? And 6 years ago, this is 4 years ago I had it. 6 years ago, there was none of it, the Empire State Building. And it's still got a way to go, believe me. It's never just going to change overnight. Everything's step by step. But 6 years ago, the perception would be, oh, that tourist trap and all these people accosting us. There's still some of that, but now I hope that you feel a little bit warmer towards this building than you did 6 years ago. I don't know how long you've been in the city. But this is the kind of work, that's what branding does, in bits and pieces. You give it a long-term goal, and then you do bits and pieces to get yourself there. And then the long-term goal is the guide.
How do you market it as different than the Freedom Tower?
The Freedom Tower is down there, and they say, see forever. And they say, there's another thing they had, which is good, see forever. It's like, see the future, and you're far and all that. But it also, that's just a view. You see forever. They're not, and they have a problem because it's a very sad thing down there. This is just New York. You can't, this is the icon of New York. There's nothing more, when you're flying in and you're leaving. So there's a distinct difference. But that's a good question. It's not just the World Trade, One World Trade. It's also the other observatories that are popping up all over the city. You can go to any bar and they claim to have a view. So the difference is the heart of New York City. That's it. We're the heart. There's nothing that can represent it better than the Empire State Building. That's essentially the difference.
They make better relationships with the tenants in the building?
Slowly, yes.
Make them happier?
Yes. In fact, I don't have it anymore. Do you remember these are my neighbors, by the way, Pratt, alum, and teachers too. So, remember the card I showed you? We designed this thing called the Executive Pass that they give to the tenants so that they have this special treatment and they can go up and take their guests up there. So you see, you have to pay attention to every single detail. It's not like you come up with this magic and walk away. You have to work on everything. Like I said, I showed you the Statue of Liberty. There's nothing I had to let go. Every pixel had to be touched. So it's similar with this. You can come up with a big idea, but then you got to do the grassroots thing. You got to walk the walk with the CEO. You got to walk the walk with the marketing people, and go to the sales rooms and talk to the customers and understand what they want. Then you feel it. You can't sit in a room and think of these things, which is what I felt like I was doing in advertising. But now that I'm doing this grassroots thing, I feel like I'm back there and talking to people and touching it and fiddling with product, So that, yes, working with tenants too. And the heart of New York City now has a voice. That means when you're speaking to tenants, we would work with the brokers and all the people who work for the whole building, not just the observatory, on how to speak. Because you develop a brand guide after doing something like this, and you develop a voice, and you develop a look and a feel, and you develop typography and color and all that. So you can make decisions moving forward to affect every piece of the brand. So it's very blurry, as it should be. But 30 years ago, advertising was an easy craft. You ran a TV campaign globally, $300 million. You took a 15% commission, and they got rich. WPP, the owner of David Ogilvy, he had a few castles because that's how he did it. And then this now is considered the ecosystem of advertising. Here you go, one little thing there, Google. So imagine all this. So where do you fit? Advertising, communication, marketing, publishing, everything fits into this ecosystem. There was a time when you just ran TV and people went and bought your product. And it was all opaque, meaning you didn't know where the product was made, how they made it, you just bought it. Now you got options, millions of options. You got millions of ways to go in. So I feel like branding is very important day one, so that you get your act together then, and then you can move forward and pick one or two of these tools to focus on your customer, whether it's social media, if you're directly going to a consumer, or if it's a B2B thing, it may be direct mail. It still is a good thing. It works. Never poo-poo anything from the past. The direct mail, like some of these, I work for a bank, they go, Ray, my direct mail works better than any technology. And I'm like, whoa, man. So find your medium that exists here. It might be an email campaign. Go to MailChimp. I just don't know yet. You create a brand, your idea, your emotional content by understanding your customer, and then see what medium you want to choose from all this. Of course, search is massive, so you need to figure out how people are searching for your product. The reason I put this here is it's enormously complex now. There is no one way. So what I'm showing you is my way. There could be 1,000 ways out there. I just found one that I feel like works. So take it for what it is and understand you need to develop your own. And there are agencies and consultants and professional service companies all saying different things. Some may be valid, some may not. Just make your own decisions because this is what's out there. Be skeptical of everything, is what I say. Question everything. That's what the Jesuits taught me, going back to being a Mendez. So that's what I started. My MVP, still working on it. It could be rapid brand prototyping is something I called it once because I work with the CEOs for 2 days and teach them how to brand. Or I call it system design because my partner's a tech genius and he can look at all those things back here, choose the right ones with hard work, and understand how to put them together so it all works around the customer. I don't do this. This is his realm. So I'm this half of the company and that's him. So these guys came to me. I'm taking you through a process. I'm over time, aren't I? I'm taking too long.
Oh, it's all right. This is
Yeah?
yeah.
Okay. This guy came to me saying, I'm selling around $3 million worth of these things. This is a mattress pad that cools your body down to around 68 degrees at around 3 a.m. because that's when it releases our bodies release growth hormones to regenerate our cells. And I was astounded. I thought sleep was just connected to light and sound, and I never knew temperature played such an important thing. And he goes, Ray, temperature is more important. And I was like, what? I was shocked, and I wanted the product so badly to work on it. And then he said, it's a pitch. In the agency business, this thing called a pitch. I'm like, I can't do a pitch. I was too tired. So I said, I'm going to develop this process for you, which is a workshop. So I'll show you how to brand rather than present you with your own brand and you won't know what to do. So he said, you're going to teach me how to do this? I said, yeah, it's not that hard. I'll demystify it for you. It's hard work, but it's not hard to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I won't be able to give you, I don't want to give you a brand. I want to work with you so that you know how to do it. You can go away going, I don't need this guy anymore. I know how to do it now. I prefer to do that. I think that's where we are today. Empower our customer rather than do it for them and then have this big magical mystery between us. I want to teach people how to do it. So I decided to do that for this guy. And I took all my experience and I said, how am I going to teach it? So I developed my own process, little realizing that many people have developed their own processes. I thought this was me. But so there are plenty out there. Just take it. Audience first. This is where you can go through it, then we can talk about it making sense or not. Obsess here, please. Do not do anything until you feel your audience. You got to know her. You got to be her. You got to be him. You got to understand how these people live and why they want your product, what they aspire to, what they want in the future. Just study it. Study that person. Okay? And I divided into two. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you have current customers. But if you don't, I tend to work with companies who have customers that want to grow because a private equity company has just bought them, or they've got new investment that they want to, they want to grow very fast. They want new audiences. But you've got to study your current audiences and go, why do they like my product? And be pretty brutal because they may not like it, but they buy it for some other reason. So you just got to study it. Just study your audiences. I'm trying to emphasize that with you guys. And your future audiences. So very often I have clients come in, the cliche is going away a little now, but for the last 3 years, there was one assignment. We want millennials. And I'm like, yes, everyone wants millennials. That's, but why? So study your future audiences, and you'll soon discover, I hope, that the mindset of these two are exactly the same. It's how they behave that seems to be different. And I say seems to be because I'm not 100%. This is a moving target. We're finding things are changing all the time. So let me give you an example of the product as I take you through it, so it'll be making more specific sense. I'll go through that in a bit. I divide the landscape up into two. Your immediate competition, like, I'm sorry, what's your name? Jim. You will probably find that someone else has thought about this. I find that I'm never alone. Like, someone has thought about my ideas a long time ago. You got to see who they are. See who's eating your lunch. Meaning, when you go to the store to sell, see who else is going to be there and selling the same thing you do. You're going to find someone like that, and you're going to be like, oh my God. So you've got to be very competitive like that. Study your competition. If you don't have someone selling your exact product, study a company that's like it. But your immediate competition, like who's going to take my money away from me? Because you got to be competitive. You got to be competitive. So study your competition. This is also very important. Study the big, broad, global trends. Like where is humanity going? Like we don't know. We do know. You just do some reading. I shouldn't say you don't know. You know. You just have to read. Think about it. I'll take you through the details in the sleep context. vision. Every one of you guys has a vision that's not just about making money, that made you make your product. You go, I love this thing, and this is why, because it's going to do this for humans. And I'm going to wake up every day and go, this is what I want to do. But oh man, I got to do this and make money. Okay, you have to make money. Great. Accept it. No embarrassment. But identify this. You need to identify this. So when I work with my CEOs or founders, I pull all this out of them in the workshop. And then I call this loosely business/brand because I want to know how the businesses work. Because when you have a CEO there or a founder there, things come out that you never understand unless you're sitting there with that person, and I never know. Things like my product leaks, and I'm like, well, I didn't know that. That plays a huge part. You may not think it's important to communication, but it is, because you get the psychology behind it. I got issues with how they're treating me in China when I'm manufacturing stuff. And I go, okay, I didn't know that. So I understand why you can't do this, because you're spending 2 weeks a month in China. I get it. But if I don't know that, I'm giving them ideas they can't execute. You see, so this portion is just me trying to understand what these people do and the problems they have. So I can be very real. So I can roll up my sleeves with them and help, rather than sit there like this guy going, here's an idea, take it and leave. You know, I want to know this. I want to know how it works. So, current audiences of my sleep guy. They were these really passionate life hacker type of people. Like Tim Ferriss, do you guys know who he is? The 4-Day Workweek. He loved this product. And he's very influential. But I'm no Tim Ferriss. I'm like, that guy, you know, he injects himself with stuff. He hangs himself upside down. He puts himself in ice. He's like a life hacker. I'm like, so he's a passionate user, but there's one of him, right? LeBron uses it, and he says to his buddies, apparently, I can't say I can't prove this, but someone told me, my CEO told me, that he says, you know, you guys go out partying and all that stuff, I don't care. He goes, I sleep. And when I sleep, I make $100 million. High performer. High performers want to sleep better. How do I get this message out to people like me who are like, yeah, I want to do better, but I ain't these two. Then there are, she's actually, I made a mistake. This is not a representative of this. She's an athlete. I wanted to get someone in a wheelchair to represent cancer patients and MS patients that use this thing and swear by it. But remember what I'm saying. These are just a very narrow bandwidth of passionate users, like, you know, a few 100,000 of them. We want to sell to America. All of you want to be healthy. So this is the current audience. How do I get from 3 million to 100 million, selling 100 million? So I got to go to the next layer up. So we study the future audience. Who are they? They're people like you and I. Well, they're not the guy who's sitting on the couch with a beer going, I'm never going to use this. Don't go for him. Leave him alone. Just leave him alone. But go for these people. She wants to be healthy. She's doing well. He wants to perform. He wants to perform. He's at a certain age. He goes, I've had it, man. I got to get healthy again. You want to go for the people who want to do it, because the psychology is that they're positively looking forward to this. Because if you sell it to someone who doesn't want it, it's not going to work. Because someone doesn't want to change their habit if they're approaching it negatively. So, you know, identifying your audience and finding the people who want your product is really key. So, Jim, you have to find the people who want your product. Don't worry about the people who don't want it. Don't waste your time. There are plenty who want it. Get to them, get that energy going, so you're ignoring those, and then have them understand your product and get them to recommend it in steps. The competition. Now, oddly enough, I was astounded. Like, yes, obviously all these sleep products. But then he said our competition is things like Ambien. And I'm like, whoa, I never thought of that, you see? So I have to understand who his competition is. Sleep Number is a big competitor too. And then you understand, what is their messaging? How are they selling? Why are they selling? What's their long-term idea? Are they going to have a product that's like yours in a couple of months and you're going to be, you know, dead in the water? So you do some study. And what are the trends? As we know, wellness is this huge trend right now. Wellness is a giant word with a million things underneath it, ranging from, who knows, yoga to Reiki to all these different things. Paleo diet, one of them. You know, and I find this, Arianna Huffington's Thrive Global, where, you know, it's about sleep and burnout and stuff like that. So these are the trends. Everyone's going here anyway. So if you go back to that medical-looking product I showed you earlier, you know, this one? Yeah. You see how opposing it is to this trend? Everyone's going here, and there it looks like something you get in a hospital. Now, it's appropriate for your current audience, for Tim Ferriss and those other two people, but it's not appropriate for us. Where I go, that thing just, I don't want to use that dirty looking, you know, just. So you see, as you understand your audience and the future audience, you start designing your product in your head too. So that's where it helps. You're going through a process, a journey where you go, oh, I'm changing my brand. And I had to get his vision, and very simply, his uncle invented the waterbed, so he's been obsessed with sleep since he was a kid. And he very simply said, Ray, 40% of Americans have insomnia. No wonder we have all these problems. I know that if they sleep better, I'm like, so you want to help America sleep better? He goes, yeah. He goes, that's my vision. I go, awesome, man. There it is. What's your vision, guys? You want to help plumbers have a better life. I don't know what it is. Find it. Write it down, Then I talked to him about his issues. This is just a picture I got of manufacturing in China, but he was harping on China, and I go, why are you talking so much about China? He goes, I want to manufacture in America. I can't. And he gave me a million reasons. I'm like, oh man, okay, I get it. So you can't be pushing out made in America. I understand, see, it's communication. You got to get the stuff. You've got to know what makes them tick. He tells me I'm spending 2 weeks there, so don't give me an idea I can execute. And I go, this is my reality with you. So it's good to have someone else pulling these things out of you, because you can't talk to yourself. You need to give it to someone. This is an important piece. And this is the workshop. So I took him through a 2-day workshop. Him and his wife, they're a couple. She's a physicist. She's an amazing person, amazing. And he's the business guy. And I brought them to New York, and I brought people, not from my own company at the time, but what I considered the best solutions for this guy's problem. One of them was supposed to come. He works at Pentagram, which is a design company, and he's a verbal strategist. He's amazing. I brought him in, a digital smart guy who understands navigating the digital world very well, and we had this workshop. So what did we want from the workshop? This is what we wanted to learn from the current users, those people I showed you, the current users. Why do they like it? And they believe their lives have been improved. LeBron's claiming $100 million a year. I'm like, okay, good for you, man. One mattress pad and $100 million, give me that thing. Youngblood is the name of the guy, my client. And what did we want? We have to accelerate the growth, and he didn't have a name. He had a name, Chili Pad, but he says, I don't like the name, and I agreed with him. Chili Pad's a bad-sounding name. It's like it sounds cold and hard and hospital-like. So we wanted to have a new name. A definitive position, like here's Sleepy's, here's Sleep Number, here's Ambien. Where do we fit that's different? And everyone goes, oh, I want that thing. Positioning in the landscape. Directions for a brand, like look and feel, personality, stuff like that. Names, he wanted names and sub-brand names. Company narratives, what's the story of my company? Because there are many stories, as you'll see, and all of them authentic, but what's the one that works? Got it. And tools, like little bits and pieces that he can start applying. Here's my design tool, language tool, and things like that. So this is the position we came up with. Here's the customer. Those seeking their optimized selves. Think about that. Narrowed down to those seeking their better lives. It's not the guy on the couch. You see? Instantly, you narrowed your audience down. New core, we come up with different names. Proven sleep sculpting technology. That's the category. We created a new category for them, sleep sculpting, which subsequently I found existed, but it was a workshop. But you get the point. You can create a new category. Dynamically regulates core. This is the reason why nothing else did this. Nothing else dynamically regulated core body temperature. So it's a differentiating point. And here's the benefit, life-changing sleep. So this statement captures your business. And this guy went, yep, that's my business. It's very hard to create this statement. It's clunky, bad English, but this is the company. And then the next day we created. What did we create? A personality. You see, already it's starting to feel different from that mattress pad, right? A name. Eep. That's how you're supposed to say it. And the psychology behind it was, when people approach changing their bad habits positively, it works better than when you approach it in fear. I'm gonna go quick. Sub-brands, similar kind of vein, little sounds, ta-da, woohoo, little things, fun. And we wanted a packaging, so I was like, okay, obviously very simple, but there'll be more, but it was just an idea of packaging it. And when you open it, it goes eep. Second one was like hibernation. The story being, go back to pre-technology times when our bodies were adjusted to the light and the temperature, and now technology these days blocks us. We barely know it's day or night out. We don't know what temperature is outside, so our bodies are not adjusting. Whereas this thing, this mattress pad allows you to be in touch with the natural cycles, the circadian rhythms. It was going back to primitive times. So obviously the sub-brand names come out of that kind of a story. And then a rough package design. Just to give them an idea, I mean, you could use moss, you could use caves, you could use all these natural type of things, but you get an idea, boom, out there. This was my favorite. He didn't want to use it because he said his ego, I don't want to put my name out there. His name's Youngblood. This, where you could actually tailor software for a particular individual from Todd, Youngblood, was the big deal for me. And I'm like, wait, I'm not going to do it yet. He goes, 10 years from now, maybe, but I'm uncomfortable. So, but you see how you can go for the different types of humans? Like, imagine you go to some online poll. And do you sleep like LeBron? Do you sleep like Jeff Immelt, some CEO? Do you sleep like Mother Teresa? I'm making it up. Do you sleep like, General God knows who? You get my point. And you click on it, and you go to the website. You key in your own data, and it sends you software for you. So you'd get the box in the mail saying, for Chuck the Warrior or, Jim the Saint. So it's very personalized. And I was like, please do it. And he said, I'm not going to do it. So anyway, that's the story. 3 months later, I get an email saying, Ray Hyber was the one. It's taken. I was like, I called Todd up, and I'm like, Todd, did you buy it? No. Did you register it? No. And I'm like, oh my God, it's taken, man. What are you doing? Normally a CEO would be like, you mean we wasted all this money? He started laughing. I go, Todd, I'm so sorry, man. I thought you were going to do all the legal stuff. He goes, yeah, I was going to. Don't worry about it. He started laughing when I said, I'm sorry. He goes, why are you apologizing? I said, because all this. He goes, no, I know I own my brand now. We can come up with 100 names. And I'm like, oh, this is miraculous. In advertising, I would be smacked around because I presented them with an idea. But I worked with him. He knows what to do now. And I was like, oh, it works. I like the process, the workshop. Because the guy knows he can walk away from me and I know what to do, So we had another workshop and came up with another name, Uller, with look and feel, natural. You see how it comes from Hyber? That's the one they wanted. The app, this is where my partner comes in, by the way. This is where I back off and I go, take over, man. Like system design. He knows this stuff. Like I'm like, leave it alone. So this is what he can do. He's helping them with. Just some design things. And packaging, you see. So that's the workshop. And you may have some questions, Jim or anyone. What I'm trying to do next is develop a bot that I don't have to be there. I'm trying to get this process out of my brain. So you can go on the web, anyone, and do their stuff, and out comes a brand. Because I don't need to be there. I think. Everyone's saying you can't do it. And I'm like, I can't do it. If I have a process and it's in my head, it can be done. All I got to do is show examples and give little guiding points. So that's my next thing. But I just wanted to bring it back to where my future is, but go back to anything. So any questions or anything, please.
And real quick, guys, everyone try and get a question in, but please, we only have about 5 minutes, so so if you have a question, one question, and then let other people.
No questions. Which? Not yet. He's yes, you can. You can buy Chili Pad now, but they're launching this at CES in February. So you won't get this prettier looking thing and all the packaging yet, but you'll get the uglier one. But it works. It does work. So yes, buy it.
If your statement is the same as your mission?
I'm sorry?
The statement is the same as the mission?
No. The positioning statement, no. Very different. And again, these are all, jargon. So whatever works for you. There are 100 different things. There's the vision statement, the mission statement, the positioning statement. Just use what works for you. Pick the best that you believe. So I picked positioning statement just because it works. A vision is somewhere you want to go you will never be. Like he wants to help America sleep better. Good luck with that. But at least you're trying, right? He's trying. That's his goal, aspiration. Mission is how you're going to get there. So if you had to write a mission statement, it would be by making a product that helps you get your body temperature down to 68. It's the mission statement. You know what I mean? How to do it. Vision is why, where you want to go. Mission is how to do it.
Ray, if I were looking to start a business today and I had a really good idea of what my core business model was, but I wasn't sure what the next step should be in developing my brand, where would you say I should start? Like, what's the next step I should take?
Audience, if you're right there, because I have clients come to me and they don't need brand. I have a client that I've just signed on, Eleni's Cookies. You guys might know her. Makes great cookies, by the way. Go buy some cookies. But she came, didn't want brand. She needs e-commerce help. So you see, every business has their own issues that they need fixed right now. Brand can emerge whenever, but the way you put it to me, I would say go to your audience, study your audience, get to know your audience, man. That's key. Like, everything else can go aside until you know your audience. Then take the next step when you feel, I know her or I know him. Okay?
Thanks
Good.
very much.
Thanks.